Hey, what's good? I got something a little bit different going on this time. I'm going for a Dark Souls 3 challenge run. Now, I've beat this game once before, but this time I'm going to try beating the game at level 1 with no upgrading, and I'm going to try to kill all of the bosses in the base game. In order to beat this run, I'm going to have to be a dog, so I named my character accordingly. Alright, setting it off, we go box with Gundyr, and we just go ahead and club him up a few times, nothing too crazy, take him to his second phase, and that's where we just let our fire bombs sing, and they absolutely destroy it. After that, we just slide on into the Firelink Shrine. While we're here, we do the classic tree skip to get up on the roof and grab the Estus shard that's up there. And that's basically all we do in Firelink Shrine, and we head on over to the High Wall of Lothric. Nothing much to do around these parts either, so I just pull up on the boss, Vort. The OST for this fight is dope, but the fight itself is alright, it's not too much to it. All I had to do was roll underneath him and just spam him with attacks right in his crotch. There's nothing he can really do to hit me when I'm down here. My club is already not doing a lot of damage, which is not a good sign for the future, but it's enough to get him to his second phase. And once he starts his second phase, it's really the same thing as before. I just roll on into his gooch, smack him up a couple times. That gets him low, and then I just wait for him to do his beam attack. I sneak right behind him and just beat this shit out of him until he dies. To continue on, I talk to this old lady to get this flag from her, and I sneak her so I can fight the dancer early. Now I thought I had a shot, but my club does no damage and she kept one-shotting me, so I put those foolish ambitions to rest and continued on the normal way. Next on the hit list is the Curse Rotted Greatwood, and this gotta be the worst fight in the game. This shit absolutely sucks dick. This fight felt like it was lasting way longer than normal, and I kept dying to some bullshit. But once I stopped fucking around, I slapped up all the ball sacks around his body and eventually took this son of a bitch down. I know he's not a boss, but I also jumped this mini boss Fire Sage with Sigurd. You know I had to get my boy right. And while we're talking to NPCs, you know we had to say what's good to our girl Henri. Back to the game though, we gotta kill the Crystal Sage next, and goddamn, this motherfucker was giving me the business. The beginning isn't very hard, you can just keep swinging away and the boss just starts running. Repeat that and you're gonna get him to the second phase. But in this second phase though, it's super fucking annoying because all of the crystals around the arena turn into copies of the boss that just spam the fuck out of you with spells. Eventually, I figured out that if you run into the crystals while the boss is disappearing and respawning, there's gonna be less copies, and I ended up getting pretty lucky with the spawns and eventually took down this godforsaken boss.
Let's go! Fuck you, bitch. Oh my god. Mad annoying.
While I was in the area, I tried taking out the Deacons of the Deep boss, but I hit another roadblock because I was not doing nearly enough damage to take them down right now, so I wrapped him up in tinfoil and saved it for later. The only area we can go to for now is Fair and Keep, so we walk on in there, blow out a couple of candles, and climb up to the top to beat up the Stray Demon that's just sitting on top of the wall for some reason. After that, it's time to fight the Joyous Bunch, Abyss Watchers. I think this fight is pretty sick. And when it's a one-on-one, we can kind of just beat the shit out of the guy. But when the other two Abyss Watchers join in, it becomes even easier. All I do is just walk around the arena, wait till they start fighting each other, sneak the boss, rinse and repeat. After a few more back shots, we finish the first phase, and in the second phase, the fight is even easier. All you have to do is stay away from him, wait until he does the double flip slam attack, roll behind him, give him a back shot, run away, repeat that a few more times, and I killed the first Lord of Cinder of the run. In the catacombs, we grab the Karthus Milk Ring, which ups our dex by 3, which doesn't do much for us now, but in the future when we get another ring, we're going to be able to use better weapons. While we're down here, we fight High Lord Wolnir, who is as fraudulent as they come. This man ain't no lord, and after we smack his bracelets a couple times each, they explode and take off all of his life. Even at level 1, this is extremely easy as always. We just hit him with a couple of ha's, and he falls. Now we gotta go back and kill the Deacons of the Deep boss to progress, but first we upgrade our axe to +5, so that hopefully this fight is gonna be a lot easier than it was before. And it did just that, as I was able to two-shot most of these clowns now. This fight was as easy as ever after I upgraded the weapon. We were able to beat the shit out of these little deacons and secure the doll, which we need to get to Ithril. On the way, I scooped up the Chlorthy ring that's going to boost my stamina, and we head to the king of the castle, Pontiff Sullivan. At first, I was trying to fight this dude regular, but he was packing my shit up. I'm talking, I was Bradley Beal, he was Anthony Edwards, just straight cooking me. After a while, I finally decided to parry him. It took a while, but I did learn the parry times, and I can't lie, it's very satisfying just parrying the dude over and over once you do learn the times. For the first phase, I just waited and parried the big jump attack he does when you're far away. So I would parry that, get the riposte, run away, just bait it out, do that a couple more times, boom. Second phase though was a completely different story. He was giving me so much trouble. But eventually I did find a move that I could parry, and it was his right flame sword slam that he does. And after rolling through the shadows attack, I spam parry, and it normally worked. And after figuring that out, it was barbecue chicken, and I was able to take him out.
Come on, come on, come on! Let's go! Fuck yeah, finally, bro. Sit the fuck down. Get that crown off your head, bitch. Whew, holy shit.
The happiness I was feeling from working Pontiff quickly faded to pain as I was met by Aldrich at the top of Anorlando, and this femboy was doing dirty things to me. First off, his arrow move is crazy as fuck and goes on for way too long. That shit is just straight bullshit. But in this run, in the beginning, I tried to stay as close to him as I could and get him to keep swinging at me and not running away as much as possible. I was able to struggle long enough and finally got lucky in the second phase, and he kept doing his regular swings at me, and I could just get in behind him and swing away. Towards the end, I had him super low, and he was about to teleport away and kill me, but I said fuck it and kept swinging, and by God's grace, I managed to kill him, so thank God for that, or I would have been fighting him for a couple of more hours. Fuck that guy. Once again though, my happiness does not stay long as I ventured into hell itself next in Ithril Dungeon. That place has got to be in the top 5 worst areas in all of Dark Souls. But anyway, we eventually pull up on our old friend Yorm. This was a breath of fresh air as I didn't have to struggle and drag my ballsack through broken glass just to beat this boss. Charging up my sword a few times and letting that shit sing is all it takes to take down this Lord of Cinder. And now there's only one left, and we're kinda close to finishing this run, thank God. It's time to rendezvous back once again and take on the Dancer. Unlike the Deacon's boss though, this fight is still hard as fuck. Even though I have an upgraded axe, this boss still has hella health and a bunch of her moves still one-shot me. I ended up learning most of her moves in the first phase because I fought her so many times, but I mainly just tried to stay behind her and wait for her to do one of her combos, get one single hit in, and then run away. Eventually, we get her to her second phase where she just starts wilding out. The game plan now is to wait for her to do one of her huge attacks, like her helicopter move, and run in at the very end and get one attack in. Besides that move, I also waited for her jumping attack, because she always does a 360 slash right after, and it leaves enough time to be able to get an attack in and then run away safely. Those were the only times I found that I could safely attack her, so I put on a brave face, ran around the arena for 10 minutes, waited for those attacks, and I finally killed it. Now that we are in Lothric Castle, we are close to being able to use a better weapon finally, but that's going to come right after we defeat the Dragon Slayer armor. This man's first phase is pretty easy, and I mainly just kept a distance from him, baited him into using one of his two big slam attacks that let you get some damage in afterwards. Compared to the last fight, this is much faster, and I do a decent amount of damage so it doesn't take nearly as long. The second phase though is much harder because his combos become longer, and there's also some shit flying in the sky that shoots stuff at you and has lasers that explode, and he's targeting you for the rest of the fight. I try to always stay moving to avoid the stuff that's being shot at you, and mainly just roll in at the end of his combos to do damage. And one other thing that he's going to do is randomly start flexing his hammer to the sky and then slam it to the ground, and he just stands around for a little while after that, and that lets you get a couple of good free hits in. And once I was able to dodge his combos, I finished him off and got up into the Grand Archive. At the top of the Grand Archives is the Hunter's Ring that boosts dexterity by 5, and with the ring we picked up before, my dex is 18, shout out Peyton Manning, so I can finally use my favorite weapon, the Uchi-Katana. To max it out, I farmed this dude for a little while for large Titanite shards, and then scooped up this Titanite slab here and upgraded the Uchi to plus 10. I don't know if it was because I just maxed out the Uchi, but Asaros was the easiest fighter to run and I actually beat him on my first try. All I did was keep rolling into his attacks and sat right where his dick would be and just swung away. Every couple of hits he gets staggered, and he also loves to yell to his invisible or non-existent baby, whichever it is, which lets you just wail on him all the time. In his second phase he does get much more aggressive, and all I did was watch out for his tail attack and his bull rush moves, and I generally just waited for him to finish his attack and then run behind him and smack him up in the butt a couple of times. Towards the end of the fight, he tried to use this ice beam attack like he was a cloister, but I smacked him up, got a bleed proc, and sent him to the gulag with his baby. We are almost done with this run, and it's time to run it back against Gundyr, except this time he's off a perk and is not playing around. The first phase is easy enough, and he has a bunch of different combos, but they aren't too fast and we can dodge them relatively easily and get a hit in between each one, and that's enough to get him into his second phase. While he's transitioning, I try to get a few hits in, but I can't be too greedy because I need to run away as fast as I can so that I can parry him in the second phase. The one move that I'm looking for is this turnaround slam that he does when you are far from him, but the issue here is that he's extremely fast in the second phase, and if I'm too close to him, he's going to one-shot me. This second phase was giving me a lot of trouble because you have to maintain your stamina so you can continue to run away from him, and the parry timing is pretty difficult because the move that I'm aiming for is extremely fast and he was fucking me up. The last problem I have is that I have to constantly switch from one-handing to two-handing my sword so that I can parry him, and with all of that in mind, I finally parried the champ 7 times in a row and took him down. With Champion Gundyr's Soul, we can trade it to this old dude for the Prisoner's Chain, which is a ring that boosts my vigor, endurance, and vitality by 5. So we throw that hoe on and make our way to the final Lord Soul that we need. It's time to answer the bell and take on the Twin Princes, and with our new ring and an ember, we can live almost every hit, which makes this fight a lot easier. For the first phase, I try to wrangle with him as best I can, and roll behind and swing once after each of his combos. Doing this and staying close generally makes him just keep swinging and lets you get a lot of damage off on him. Once he starts teleporting and doing his charged up move, I get as close to him as I can and dodge into the attack and smack him up a few times. And after rolling through a few more of his combos, because we were hitting him so much, I get a bleed proc and a stagger, and that takes him down. And then his little brother comes down and whispers in his ear telling him to Now that his brother is in the mix, it's even more important to stay close to him because little bro is going to start spamming spells if I'm far away. The way to beat this boss is by killing the little brother who's on his back, so we stay close and roll through the combo same as before and try to finish behind him so we can get a swing on the little brother. Besides the spells, it's the same as before, so if you can just keep dodging the combos and smacking bro from behind, this fight is not all that difficult. I managed to get a stance break during the fight and didn't realize that the riposte only damages the big brother, so that wasn't worth it at all. But I did manage to kill the big brother, which let me just wail on the other while he was trying to revive him. And after that, it was all but over, and after dodging a few more combos, we took down our final Lord of Cinder. Before we take on the Lord of Cinder, there's one other man we gotta dance with, and it's the big bad nameless king. The first phase, where he's the king of the storm, isn't too difficult once you get used to his moves, and it's more a battle with your camera than anything. He's got a couple of simple combos that aren't too hard to dodge, and the dragon likes to shoot fire a lot, but he winds up his neck when he's going to shoot it, so it's easy to see coming. After smacking him up a few times, the dragon falls, and the first phase is basically over after that. Now is when the real fight starts, and he's got a bunch of combos and he loves to mix them up. My strategy is to stay up on him and always roll to the side of him and wait to see if he's following up his swings or not. The second he stops swinging, I go for one hit and immediately get ready to start dodging again because I know he's about to start swinging. He's got a lot of health, but after hitting him a bunch, he staggers and I can get a riposte that does a good chunk of damage. Once the Nameless King is around half health, he adds a bunch of lightning moves to his bag. The easiest one to dodge was after he starts playing with his sword and then hoists it up to the sky. Basically right after that, the attack comes and it's easily dodgeable. Besides that though, I kinda just freeballed it for his other attacks and never came up with a solid plan. Once I had his health bar to his name, I was panicking like crazy and ate a bunch of his hits and nearly died. But after dodging some of his easier combos, I got some easy pickings in and finally killed this formidable foe. Bada bing bada boom, we made it to the final boss and it only cost us our mental health. But here we are, face to face with the Lord of Cinder. In the past when I played this game, I remember thinking that he was pretty easy, but now I think that I must have been over leveled or using an OP weapon because this motherfucker is not the one to play with. The hardest part of this fight for me was the first phase because he has 4 different forms that he could use. The first one is always the same and I would just wait for one of his heavy swings to do some damage because he has a bunch of different combos and I kept dying because I thought he was done and then he would just slam my head against the page. The main moves I was trying to punish were his fire swings and after hitting him enough he staggered and I could just let him have it. When he got back up, he changed into his spell form, and this is by far the easiest. You can punish after every spell he does, and I can't lie, after doing this over and over again, I was greedy as fuck during the spell phase, and I was just sitting in front of him spamming right bumper. I was beating the shit out of him this run, and I had him super low, but he switched to his pyromancy phase next, which I do not fuck with. I could never figure out when it was safe for me to attack during this phase, so I actually just ran around the arena until he switched forms. Next, he went back to his original form, so it was back to the basics, dodging his big swings and getting a hit in. That didn't last long though, and he quickly switched to his long spear mode. For this, I try to dodge to his left and behind him, and bait out his big thrust attacks, pause. After punishing a couple more of his lunges, we take him out and move on to phase 2. For the second phase, he's the same for the entirety, which is nice, but my strategy is simple. I wait for him to either lunge at me like the move Wind does from Dark Souls 1, or for him to throw lightning into the sky. Those were the only two moves I found that I could safely punish without taking hits, and the lunge move wasn't even that safe because half of the time he would follow it up with a poke that would leave me with my booty clenched and running for safety. I just ran around the arena for 5 minutes waiting for him to do these moves over and over again, and eventually I started to get his health bar down pretty low. A couple of times I would be impatient and swing after his poke move or his grab, but once I had him around half, I got nervous and was just waiting for these two moves to do any damage. Towards the end of the fight, I got a stagger that left him with such little health, and I really wanted to just stand there and keep swinging, but luckily I was smart and ran away, because he got up and did his insta-kill 5 swing combo that would have killed me, and I don't know if I would have been able to recover. After baiting out another lunge move though, I killed him and can officially say that I beat all of Dark Souls 3 at level 1. All that's left is to call up our shawty and have her suck up the flame for good. Thanks for watching.